This is the hell that's Lysychansk, and it's a hell that never falls silent. Look to the right of that huge black plume of smoke. That fresh puff is yet another shell exploding on an horizon already foggy with destruction. The city's being surrounded by Russian troops bit by bloody bit. This bridge over the railway was the main route in. The Russian circle's nearly complete. The attackers are using brute force to sledgehammer their way in from several directions. We drove in as they mounted their latest ferocious onslaught on the city's oil refinery, the second largest in Ukraine.
I don't think we should hang around here too long.
It felt akin to riding into some sort of Armageddon. Lysychansk is the last remaining stronghold in the Lysychansk region of the Donbass. Losing this city will be a monumental loss. Part of the plant is on fire. Many other areas have been hit badly. There are shells coming in every few minutes. But the Ukrainians are fighting the fight of their lives. And they've been battling over this pocket of the Donbass for months. We're with the soldiers of the 24th Brigade, sworn to secrecy about their exact location inside the plant. They're on the move to another fighting position. The Russian troops are 500 meters away, and they've come under savage attack here. But they're bitterly disappointed about losing their twin city of Severodonetsk. It's made their defense of Lysychansk all the more important. They don't want to give up an inch of territory, but they followed their orders. Yes, it was the right decision, he says. Better to save lives. But every bit swallowed up by the Russians hurts, and their enemies are making slow but steady progress. We are going out, but some other units will stay, the battalion commander tells us. He goes on to insist no one's leaving Lysychansk. We just want to regroup in a better position, he says. But the Ukrainian hold on this city looks very tenuous right now. But even as they hastily relocated, there was an air of this being the final battle for Lysychansk. They've held the Russians at bay for weeks now, forcing some heavy losses on them and buying time to build up defences in Donetsk, the second half of the Donbass where the Russians will move to next. But they're coming under intense pressure on the Donbass battlefield, and even relocating involves casualties as they're forced to run the gauntlet of fresh shelling. Amid the mayhem of this grim fighting, the explosions and hurry to shift has led to a head-on crash. The injured are having to be rapidly extracted and treated, whilst the heavy smog offers them some slight cover. Those who make it out alive from the line of fire are utterly exhausted and high on relief and almost surprised they're still in one piece.
Hello.
But there's a growing exasperation at what they see as the delay in sending long-range artillery and better weapons for them to somehow finish this fighting.
It would be much better if you send us some new weapons.
Are you struggling with the stuff you've got at the moment?
Well, can't say that we're struggling, but it would be much better, you know. They take high losses, we need to retreat, but in the end, again, they will go forward again, we will beat them with artillery. They will, again, they have a great amount of losses.
So what's your message to NATO and the rest of Europe?
Stop being
The foot soldiers aren't mincing their words anymore. But there's a determination and courage here that far outstrips the diminishing odds of victory, even as they race to a front to replace colleagues and where they're vastly outnumbered and outflanked.
They're still showing peace signs, so I'm getting the impression they're still very optimistic. What's your feeling?
Ми так само. Ми завжди за. Ми Україну не здамо.
19-year-old Eugene has a face etched with the grime of war and seeing friends die in Severodonetsk. He spent 4 months sleeping and battling inside this armoured vehicle. He's old enough to fight and nearly die, but young enough to question withdrawing from Lysychansk.
Конечно, обидно, потому что если мы просто его, считай, почти отдали. Сєвєродонецьк, да, нас там задавили, а з Лисичанська просто починаємо виходити. Ну, лично моє мнение, там можна було б ще хоч трохи не подати.
But the city is being changed beyond recognition, with every major landmark in the centre damaged or destroyed. It's a mass of debris and destruction. The city's authorities and police say already about 3/4 of the area is devastated. There are several thousand residents still here, where the rumble of deadly weaponry is now part of their daily routine and increased with a savage intensity over the past few days. Hear that whistle and that crunch? We know that they're coming from the south of the city, where there's a column of Russian armory which is trying to encircle the city, and they keep landing every 2 minutes. We saw no sign of any Russian troops inside Lysychansk, despite Russian claims, but we did spot the Ukrainians driving back captured Russian armour, their blue and yellow flag flying above it now. But even amid this small triumph, there are shells coming in, forcing the curious nearby residents to take cover again. The Ukrainians are inflicting some serious casualties on their Russian enemies, but it's still not enough to hold them back. Civilians led us to the body of a Russian soldier, which they say was dumped out of the captured personnel carrier. He'd obviously been badly hurt and had a tourniquet around his leg. The discarded Russian army uniforms were laid out for the residents to see, while the police documented all the evidence for any future investigation, including exactly how he died and what he was doing. With no electricity, there's no operating morgue, but his DNA will be taken to try to identify him.
Це, найперше все, за все люди. І з нашої сторони буде зроблено все, щоб тіло потрапило до родичів.
Volunteers have the awful task of bagging the corpse. Then the body is loaded into one of the few operating vehicles in the city. A larder so small, one of the volunteers has to sit cradling the dead Russian soldier on his lap whilst his colleagues finish up gathering his personal items. Both life and death in Lysychansk is utterly surreal. The Russians deny they're targeting civilians, but plenty of homes are being hit in the fight to seize this city. A few metres away from the flames in this building, we find Ihor, a pensioner who's struggling to accept his flat's been bombed overnight. Both floors above his are burned right through. Are you still staying in there?
Да, конечно. А куда мне? У меня нога болит. Куда мне идти? Мне некуда. В общем.
With smoking flats all around him, his determined sprinkling of water to bring down the heat